So here we are in the sequence we call Married Life, and this was one of the sequences I was most worried about when it came to production, because between Bob, your original pitch, and the writing, and Ronnie and everybody else on the story team, their amazing storyboards, it just had this, it worked. You know, we put it up and people, even on boards, were brought to tears and very moved by this. And I thought, okay, if we can capture even 50 or 75% of what's working in the boards, it'll be a success. And I think in the end, they topped even the boards.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just really beautiful. Well, my general direction to the art crew and to lighting was this should feel as though it's Carl's memory of his life. You know, it's not that we're literally tracking along and following him, although we are, but it's kind of seen through his own memory of his life together with this amazing woman. And so it's seen a little, maybe even more rosy and idyllic than it was at the time.
Yeah, I mean, there was talk of going sepia, wasn't there, with it? And I'm glad we didn't. I'm glad it ended up being, like you're saying, this stylized, colorful, memory-laden thing.
Married Life as a sequence, as we were talking about, started, it was kind of like your classic, you start with a really long letter, and you pare it down to what's just the most essential things. I forget who, there's some quote by somebody who says, I didn't have time to write you a short letter, so I wrote you a long one. You know, it's that kind of idea that you start with all the information, you keep stripping away till just the bare minimum, and it's like whole life told in, 4 or 5 minutes across this montage just set to music. This music here is written, of course, by Michael Giacchino, the great composer that we got to work with on the show. And it was one of the first things we hit in doing the music was finding Ellie's theme. You actually heard it earlier when we met Ellie as a little girl. And you'll hear it later as Carl looks through the adventure book and as he's an action hero. It's played out in all these different ways. And it was a way of keeping Ellie as a character alive through the film, which of course, she's the driving force behind the whole movie. So it was one of the ways that we tried to keep her present. A beat we struggled with a lot, which was the sort of regret that it wasn't till late in his life Carl sort of remembered, oh my gosh, we wanted to go on this trip and we never had a chance, and how to show all that.
We also tried to blame it more on him,
Carl.
the things holding them back.
Because we felt it was important for him to feel this guilt,
Yeah, and it ended up not being that important. It was just, I think we just kept going back to, it's just that life got in the way.
Yeah.
Life got in the way.
Which happens to every one of us.
Right, and Carl's flaw is that he interpreted it as something he didn't do, but her wisdom was, no, you've done it, you lived an amazing life, and we hope it's clear that when she gives him that adventure book when she's in the hospital, it's saying, go home and look at this and look at the wonderful life, and then move ahead to the next chapter, and he doesn't see it until he's down in South America.
As we were designing the film, again, the idea of keeping Ellie alive, we thought, well, let's choose some elements in design that represent Ellie. And so she is represented by bright color, primarily magenta. You'll see magenta accents throughout the whole film. In fact, as she passes away and Carl goes into the house, you see the last little remnants of magenta fading away, and it becomes almost a black and white image at the very end. As she is gone, then Carl is left with more neutral, cool, shaded colors. Without Ellie, the color and the saturation in his life is gone. And when she passes away and you dissolve to the funeral home or to the church, it's actually the same church they got married in, the model, and then we dissolve directly to the house. It was another one of those just lost in a fog, trying to capture the feeling of, more than the reality, the feeling of what those moments are like.